Hooray! World War II is finally over. The Allies had won, fascism was defeated, and everyone could look forward to a long, peaceful future of friendship and harmony. And then the Fire Nation attacked. Just kidding. The USA and USSR looked at each other and looked at all the ruins and went, cool, it's just us now. This is the Cold War. It's one of the weirdest chapters in the 20-year staring contest fought with giant metals pointed at the sky. This is a space race. Our story starts with Nazi Germany rocket program run by a man called Werner von Braun, and he built a V2 rocket, which is technically a walk run, but unfortunately it's a really good engineering. And when Germany lost, both America and the Soviets went full on finders keepers. But America got Braun himself, while the Soviets only got some blueprints on a guy who was mildly good at maths. And it was already an unfair fight. For a while, both sides just quietly built missiles aimed at each other, which is normal Cold War behavior. But in October 1957, the USSR did something strange. They strapped a beach ball sized satellite to a rocket and just lodged it into orbit. They called it Sputnik. It didn't do anything though, it just beeped. That's it. The whole satellite is just a beeping metal ball. And the whole of America looked up in the sky and a little bit of a nervous breakdown. Because if the Soviets can put a beeping bolt above your house, they could probably put something a lot less friendly up there too. Congress panicked, newspapers panicked, and the panic created NASA, which was created in 1958. Basically out of pure panic. Meanwhile, the Soviets are in the time of their lives. In 1961, they launched Yuri Gagarin, who was the first human in space. Yuri Gagarin orbited the Earth once, landed, and instantly became the most famous man on the Earth. And the Soviets' message to America was basically, not only did we get there first, we got there first with a guy in it. Now, America did want to respond though. Their response was to send a man named Alan Shepard, and they wanted to send him on a much shorter hop that didn't even make the full orbit. And this is where the young president named John F. Kennedy stepped in. And he said, okay, we can't win the first round, so let's just declare something much bigger and win instead. So in 1962, he announced America would put a man on the moon before the decade was up. He didn't choose it because it was easy though, but because it was hard, expensive, and would outshine all the Soviets' efforts. Getting into the moon though turns out it was extremely hard and was extremely dangerous. They did a routine test on 1967. And a fire broke out in Apollo 1 capsule. There was 3 astronauts inside of it, and they were killed before they even left the ground, which made it very hard for the entire program. This whole thing came with real stakes, and NASA grounded the program, tore the capsule apart bolt by bolt, fixed everything they could find wrong with it, and they kept going, because at this point, stopping wasn't really an option anymore. They had to do it. By late 1968, NASA sent Apollo 8 around the moon, not landing it, just orbiting it, and actually took a photo of Earth rising over the lunar surface. However, on the other side though, the Soviets were quietly falling apart. Their chief designer, Sergei Korolev, basically their version of von Braun, had died in 1966, and their own version of their moon rocket kept blowing up. And one of the explosions was so big, it's considered one of the largest non-nuclear explosions in history, which is, not a sentence you want to attach it to your rocket program. And then there was a big day. July 20th, 1969, Apollo 11. 3 big men, Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, Michael Collins. Now, we all know how this one was a success. 600 million people watched it live. Soviets did try to take the spotlight, but it didn't work. After that, America went on to run 5 more successful moon landings through 1972. The Soviets, having quietly lost the race, they pivoted to space stations instead. Eventually in 1975, the 2 rivals did something. They docked an American Apollo capsule with a Soviet Soyuz capsule in orbit, and both astronauts shook hands in space. In the end, the space race cost both countries an absurd amount of money though, and lots of heart attacks. But it also put a human being on another place which is not Earth, which even to this day is insane to think about. How far humans progress, and all rooted from competition. The 2 countries couldn't stand the idea of each other winning, and the race never actually ended. It just changed players for now. These days, it's not just 2 superpowers, it's countries and companies. China landed rovers on the far side of the moon. India landed near the moon's south pole. And neither of those are something neither the US or the USSR ever managed to pull off. And they also spend way less. And NASA is running the Artemis program, trying to get back to the moon for the first time since 1972. And private companies like SpaceX are landing rockets back on the launch pad. So humanity never stopped racing. We just added more competitors and took out the Cold War tensions. And space race cut.